Imagine a conscious contact with God so strong that no matter what you are doing or not doing, that no matter what your kids are up to or not up to, and that whether you've got the person of your dreams or they're just not cooperating, that you are happy, content, and at peace. A space where everyone else's thoughts, attitudes, and actions are beautiful and exactly as they are supposed to be. Well, this is the space where I like to play. My name is Misha Z, and this is today's Bitch Slap. Join me as I shed light on the thoughts, actions, and attitudes that are causing you pain, and we train our minds to go to the capital S inner self, the joy that is waiting for us, the God within.
I notice that I say "ta" a lot versus "to," and I've also noticed how other people do that, and other people of note do that. Lots of "tas" out there versus "to." And I noticed "fur" and "for." Fur and "for." Cooper, my 20-year-old, was over at the house the other day to grab a piece of mail. So he still has some mail, still comes to my address, even though he lives with mom full-time now, which is totally cool on both things. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I actually like that some mail still arrives at the house, because when it's is it or un? Ta, to, fur, for, or un. For when it's unimportant piece of mail, he comes by and grabs it, and we have an opportunity to interact, say hi. And sometimes he just says a little hi and then takes a nap on the couch, and then scurries away. So Cooper came by to grab his piece of mail because it was important enough to lure him to his father's house. And he came by pretty early and was really hungry. And I was like, well, let's have some breakfast. So whipped up some eggs, little fruit salad, some English muffins. He was so happy, gobbling down his breakfast. And for whatever reason, I started telling him some stories. One was specifically how I'd invested in a company. Like I was, pre-stock market, like I don't want to call it angel investing. But there was a small time where I had some extra cash flying around, and I was like, yeah, I'll invest in a couple of, pre-startup kind of companies. And one was worth like $1,000 now. They're like, hey, you can have your $1,000. This was just a few months ago. I'd invested like 5 or 6 years ago. And they're like, oh, you can have your $1,000 that's remaining, or for tax consequences, or you can let it ride. I was like, let it ride. But point of that is I was telling Cooper about it, and why I'm telling you that I was telling Cooper about it is because that is usually information that I would play a lot closer to the vest. It's funny that I'm even telling you that right now as I record this. So I'm telling Cooper about it, and he's listening raptly, with rapt attention. And he says, "No wonder you're a hippie, growing out your hair." He's like, "That is insanity. That is stressful." And I thought it was such a beautiful statement by young Cooper. No wonder you're a hippie. No wonder I'm a hippie. Leave that stuff behind. Perhaps. Beautiful statement. That led to further stories that I was telling Cooper, and he was listening, and I was telling him about when the .com boom of the late 90s, how I'd worked at a company and gotten some stock options, and there's a 6-month vesting period. And back then I was young, was married to Dawn. I think we were married. Cooper was just about to be born, or conceived. Yes, he was not born yet, nor was Dawn pregnant at this time. But we were rapidly heading that direction. Anyhow, I'd gotten some stock options, and when I went to work for this company, and overnight, the stock options were worth $60,000 or $70,000, something like that, which at the time was a lot of money. But you have the 6-month vesting period. 2 months later, .com crash, company goes bankrupt, and my riches are gone. So we were laughing about that, and then I was just telling him we were talking about his job, and have fun, and don't worry about, there's times I was telling him how much I enjoyed my youth, and perhaps living in garages when I was his age, and gallivanting around the western United States, and that there's no hurry. So he was really grooving on that. But he still might be in a hurry. Who knows? None's good or better or worse than the other. The reason why I'm telling you those stories, that story about Cooper and how he reacted, because at the end of the conversation, he left and he says, "Oh my gosh, I'm coming over my next day off for breakfast again," because he had so much fun. And I was struck in that moment where I was vulnerable with some things that had happened and were happening in my life that I would usually play closer to the vest. And for whatever reason, when I started talking to Coops, I was like, should I tell him these stories or not? One particular story, which led to all the stories. And I was like, you know what? Throw caution to the wind. And I did. And I'm glad I trusted my instincts, because we had such a rich, amazing morning, and he was excited for it to happen again. But you know how 20-year-olds are. All that can be fleeting, and he can forget. So the point of the point is, be willing to show vulnerability. Take risks. Perhaps tell your kids things that you believe may be out of their pay grade, or that may you think I don't know, there's so many reasons that I might not tell things to my kids. Fears, trust, all these silly things, silly layers. You figure it out what it is for yourself. Show some vulnerability to your kids, to your teenagers.
Thank you for spending time with me today. As someone who is committed to growth and service to this world, I so appreciate your willingness to come with me, go within, and serve our world through change. If you found value in this podcast and you know someone who can use this message, share this episode with them. Share it so our mission can be achieved one episode at a time. And of course, subscribe so you can hear more. And lastly, for more resources on what has helped me on my journey and can help you on yours, go to belove.media/resources. That's BELOVE.media/resources. Thank you again for listening.